Hey everybody, good morning. Welcome to the Morning Devo with Bo-O. I'm in my hoodie. It's nice and cool out. Super awesome. Skiing coming up. Yeehaw! Some great ski weather. So anyway, it's January 26th. It's 8:22. It is time for our devotion. So this is the Morning Devo with Bo-O. I'm in Proverbs 4 through 5 today. No, I'm not. I'm not in Proverbs 4 through 5. Let me change that. I'm going to be in Proverbs 6 today. So that's where I'm going. I knew there was something I didn't change. But anyway, yeah, we're going to be in Proverbs chapter 6 today. Got my headphones on so I could hear everything great. And you could always check out the archives at my YouTube channel, at Bo Willette on YouTube. Just go there and put in my name in the search bar, and you should be able to come up with it and check it out. I got a lot of archive Bible books. And I think what some people do is they listen to a ton of sermons, and don't get me wrong, that's not bad. And sometimes people, delve into the Greek or the Hebrew of the Bible, and that's not bad. But a lot of times they do it at the expense of just going through the Bible, of actually just reading through the text and seeing what it clearly is saying. And so sometimes we get into the minutia and we just forget about the basics, just what it says and how that applies to our life. So that's what I do. I just, in my devotions, I just read and kind of pull out what it's saying, what it's clearly saying about God, about human beings, and how we relate. And a lot of our questions get answered when we just do that. So, the big things are the big things, man. Those are the things we want to work on and look at in our life. So chapter 6 of Proverbs, this is wisdom literature once again. It is a challenging book in that it is filled with what we ought to be doing. And just remember, Solomon, who wrote this book for his son, obviously his kids as well, to learn about what they ought to do, great principles to hold to in life. He himself struggled with doing them. And that is such a truth that I want to always bring home to you all, is that sometimes people teach the Proverbs as if Solomon did it all. And so they failed to realize that the writer himself, who was the wisest person, even though he was the wisest person, it couldn't stop him from failing. He needs saving. We need to be saved by grace, not by our own wisdom, not by our own works or anything like that. It's got to be a work of God. And so Proverbs chapter 6, let's get into it. It says, "My child, if you have put up security for a friend's debt, or agreed or guaranteed the debt of a stranger." What does it tell us to do? Let's flip the page. It says, "If you have trapped yourself by your agreement and are caught by what you said, follow my advice and save yourself. For you have placed yourself at the friend's mercy. Now swallow your pride. Go and beg to have your name erased. Don't put it off. Do it now. Don't rest until you do. Save yourself like a gazelle escaping from a hunter, like a bird fleeting from a net." Okay, so this is cool. This Proverb's really neat. I kind of like this. Now it says this: if you put up money for someone, if you're co-signed for something, right? And it's not a safe thing. It very much could be risky. Then don't do it. Don't do it. Is it for your kids? Don't do it. Is it for someone else? Don't do it. You put yourself in a trap, right? You co-sign for someone who's not independent, who doesn't make enough to make the payment. And you're just asking for it at that point, right? Oh man, haven't we done that before? Where you've learned your lesson, and sometimes it sounds so great, right? It sounds like it's the right thing to do. It sounds like it's the loving thing to do. But yet it just is not what the word tells us to do, right? It says, "My child, if you put up security for a friend's debt." Notice how it's, hey, you're hanging out with your teenage buddies. Someone has a debt. You want to help them out. Da-da-da-da-da. If they can't do it by themselves, then it's certainly not a good loan to sign on, right? So many people get into traps like this. Oh, this takes down so many people financially. And then they got to get bailed out. Then they have to get bailed out, right? And then who's bailing them out? Yeah, it's other people, right, that are bailing them out. Gosh. And that's a tough situation. We've all found ourselves, I think, there at some point in life, but this is just a good thing. Am I really, do I really need that thing? Do I really need it? I might think I do and I need to ask someone to co-sign, but maybe I shouldn't have it. Maybe I shouldn't be doing that. Maybe I'm going to have to bite the bullet, go back and live with my parents, do something like that. You're going to have to really think through that, but this is a good lesson for us, right? about that idea of lending and putting yourself in a situation that is very high risk. And notice the instruction is, man, just get out of it. Do what you can to get out of that thing. Don't stay in it. So, I kind of have a principle, and that is, if I'm going to co-sign, if that person can already do it, and they already have a secure thing going, very secure. It's not like it's not a little secure, but it's very secure. It's like super, and if they were not to do it, then it's no problem. I could totally do it. Totally make the payments, not an issue, not make a dent, not be a big thing. In my mind, that's how I think of it. But if I have to co-sign on something that's putting me at risk, right, and my immediate family at risk, and making me have to lean on other folk as well and borrow from them, then I don't think I see that as not, don't go in there. That's the instruction, is don't go that direction if you can't do it. So dealing with our finances is something that we have to think about in our walk with God. So the Bible talks about finances and what we're doing with them, how we use our money. It's funny to think that we live in a world that is simply wanting you to buy its stuff, and that's how our world works. It wants you to go to the store. It wants you to go to the market. It wants you to go to the big superstores. It wants you to buy things. It wants you to go on Amazon. Man, purchasing, things is what it's all about. And, everybody wants everybody's money. That's what everything is about. It's so sad to say that, because we tend to think like, no, it's not about that. But it is. Everybody wants more money. There's not a person on the planet that's not wanting more. We just never seem to be satisfied, right, with enough. It's super sad. That's how we are as human beings, and that's what I see out in the world. And that's how I know the Bible is certainly true. Because we do this. We put ourselves in risky financial positions all the time. It's really something to think about and pray about this morning. So let's keep going in chapter 6. So it says, "Take a lesson from the ants, you lazy bones. Learn from their ways and become wise. Though they have no prince or governor or ruler to make them work, they labor hard all summer, gathering food for the winter. But you lazy bones, how long will you sleep? When will you wake up? Oh, a little extra sleep, a little more slumber, a little folding of the hands to rest, then poverty will pounce on you like a bandit. Scarcity will attack you like an armed robber." Wow. What is this whole section about? Lazy. Being lazy. Lazy. Am I lazy in many ways? Am I lazy in mind? Am I lazy in activity? Do I find that financially, maybe I don't have anything because I don't really work that hard? Is that something that's going on in my life? And those are things to think about. Just overall laziness, right? And that can be a tough thing to think about, because none of us like to think of us as lazy. But maybe when we complain about not having, maybe one thing I need to do is just look within and just say, hey, Bo, are you being lazy? And you can be lazy around your house and not do things that need to be done in the house. To be able to take care of your investment, take care of, having a house, man, is hard work. That's what I've learned. It is not easy. It takes up a lot of your resources to take care of your home. And thing is do I care enough about my investment of my home to take care of it? The things that are needed outside, the things that are needed inside. Are those things that are on my mind, or do I just don't care, or just too lazy to get around to it? But then something happens and calamity strikes, right? And oh man, I should have taken care of that thing. Yeah, like sometimes when it's cold outside, you need to go outside and wrap the pipes, but you're too lazy. You're just sitting around eating Cheetos. And then all of a sudden, man, it's cold and the water ain't working. And you forgot to wrap the pipes, and the pipes broke, right? When all you needed to do is take 10 minutes and get out there and wrap it. That's all it took. 10 minutes of energy, to do it. But sometimes our laziness, right, really gets us. So the idea is, be smart about your money. The idea is think about, laziness and how that affects you too. And then it says, what are worthless and wicked people like? They are like constant liars, signaling their deceit with a wink of an eye. Oh yeah, right? Their deceit with a nudge of the foot or a wiggle of the fingers. Their perverted heart plots evil, and they constantly stir up trouble. Constantly lying, constantly exaggerating, got all the cool hand gestures, got all the cool face jives, look great, but yet all the while stirring up trouble, right? But they will be destroyed suddenly, broken in an instant, beyond all hope of healing. But then it comes crashing down, right? All that exterior, kind of cool, jiving look at some point just comes to an end. And it really is worthless, right? And so sometimes I got to look at, hey, am I worried about how I look or how I'm perceived by people? Or am I really thinking about what's going on in my heart? Or am I just worried about that exterior, right? What's on the outside? That's kind of a good thought to think about this morning. Is it about the wink? Is it about this? Is it about that? Is it about the, the hand gestures? Or is it really about what's going on? Am I really being honest with what's going on inside me? So that's kind of something to think about again in a devotion time, right? God, it says, we saw in the Proverbs that it says God desires truth in the inward parts. And these Proverbs are a lot of that, that truth in the inward part of our life, really being able to assess the right and the wrong within us. So I love the wisdom literature. It really helps us to kind of hone in on some of those behaviors that we have and think about them. And even down to the minute detail of hand gestures or foot wiggling or these kind of things, and you might see in an old show, an old black and white, 1930s, 40s. I like a lot of those movies, but you see that where someone's, lying about something, but the way they sit, their posture, their winking, their wiggling, it's all saying something, And but before you know it, in those movies, it all comes crashing down. That's the cool part about those movies of the 30s and 40s, those kind of gangster films, right? Everything all of a sudden becomes crashing. It looks all good, but all of a sudden it comes to an end. Now, verse 16 on is a very famous section. It says, there are 6 things the Lord hates, 7 are detestable to him. It says, haughty eyes, a lying tongue. So you have haughty eyes, right? You kind of look down on people. You think you're kind of, you're better than everybody. A lying tongue. Hands that kill the innocent. Exploitation, right? Oh, I don't exploit anybody. Think about that again, right? How many of us do maybe exploit the innocent? Do we stick up for the innocent? Do we have integrity like that? A heart that plots evil. A heart that plots evil. Thinking about, manipulation, right? How we can manipulate, how we can get things. That lying tongue, haughty eyes. You can see how this works in our life as human beings. Are these things a part of the human condition? Absolutely, right? I'm sure you can see this as well as I can, and why this passage is so popular, because it's so true. When I look out in the world, do I see haughty eyes, lying tongues, people that want to exploit the innocent, the heart that plots evil, hands that kill the innocent? What does that sound like? Hands that kill the innocent. Those that are innocent, they have done nothing, but yet hands are used to take that life. Wow, right? Yeah, that's something in our day and age, and it's been in our world for a long time. Yeah, feet that race to do wrong. Feet that are quick to go in the wrong direction. Haven't you seen that in your life too? Feet that want to kind of race. They are impatient. They want to go in the wrong direction. I've found that in my life, that's for sure. Feet that race to do wrong. Gosh. A false witness who pours out lies. Again, a lying tongue, a false witness who pours out lies, right? You're a witness, but you're just lying. You're lying about things. You're not being honest. Again, that honesty. If we can have truth in our heart, truth in what we say, truth in what we do. Oh, man, that is powerful, right? But it's tough because we find so much failure and lack in our life. And sometimes it's so hard to admit that. And then it says, a person who sows discord in a family. Gosh, that's a bummer, huh? Someone who just constantly sows discord. Someone in the family, amongst the group, that is continually sowing seeds of discord, causing division all the time. And it's sometimes been in people's life their entire life, meaning their entire life they have sowed these discords of division. And they've divided their children, they've divided their families, they've separated themselves from families. It's just been constant, right? There's a constant rudeness and nagging, and they have their ideas, but it's a constant discord, right? Never be at peace. Never have peace. And of course, we all think we're right? We all think we got it together. And it's tough to look at your life and go, hey, have I sown discord? Have I really tried to live, as the New Testament says, live at peace with all people? Have I really attempted to do that? Or has my words brought out this discord? Have I said things that were harsh and just downright not nice? And can I say that, hey, you know what? Last time I talked to you, it was really not a good conversation. I said things that I shouldn't have said. I was hurt, and this is what I did. This is what I said. A lot of times people don't ever do that. They don't ever fix that discord that has been sown in the family. So you look at that list from basically 17, 18, 19, and you probably should find something within yourself that you go, yeah, I know what that's like. That's faux show. You definitely have seen that in your world, And so, okay, we got through that. Let's get into verse 20. It says, my son, obey your father's commands and don't neglect your mother's instructions. So there you go. Mother's instructions, father's commands. Listen to your parents, right? Idea. Proverbs. Parents, to kids. That's the idea of the Proverbs. Again, you might have missed that in your Christian life and never really realized that, but the Proverbs are from parents to the kids. Keep their words always in your heart. Tie them around your neck. When you walk, their counsel will lead you. When you sleep, they will protect you. We've seen these kind of ideas before in the Proverbs already. Hold on to that wisdom, man. Don't let it go. Put it on as a necklace. Wear it around you. When you wake up, they will advise you. For their command is a lamp and their instruction a light. Their corrective discipline is the way to life. Their corrective discipline. And that means you're going to what? Move off the path, and then the Proverbs get you back on. Move off the path, Proverbs get you back on. So the Proverbs is a book, obviously, that we are to be in all the time. It is a book that helps us understand the rights and the wrongs. So Proverbs should always be something that's in your life. You should always be, as a Christian or as a Hebrew, or a lover of just the book, and a lover of wisdom, you should be in it. Tie it around your neck. Hold fast to it. It's going to correct you. It's going to give you some things to think about, in your practical life, your daily life, the application. It says it will keep you from the immoral woman, from the smooth tongue of a promiscuous woman. Oh, that smooth temptation out there, that temptation that's always gonna grab you. Now, maybe this is, of course, talking about the sexual idea, but don't just think about it that way. Think about it as just the temptation, the carrot that's on the stick, the thing that seems so tempting, seems so luscious, right? And it says, hey, it'll keep you from that. Don't lust for her beauty. Lust is so much different from love, isn't it? Lust is that strong desire that really you can't take no for an answer. You just keep going. It's an urge that itch that just won't stop, right? And you lust and you lust and you lust. And boy, don't we lust for all kinds of things. Sometimes when you want to go do something and you just love to do it and you want to go and you want to go and you want to go, you can start lusting for it, where it becomes like this major desire that if something else comes up that's more important, you can't say no to that desire because it's so tempting to you. It can be your desire to go to the gym, and just that pump that you get, or going on a run, or going on a hike, or doing even things like that you might not think about in lustful ways, or you don't think of it as in the paradigm of lust. But thing is then something else comes up, man. Oh, you got this to go to. Oh, you really should do that. Oh, this. And then you go, no, I'm just so amped up to do this thing that I got to do it. It's so fun. I love it so much. Da-da-da-da-da. And it's not in and itself bad, but it becomes such a pull that you can't do what is needed. Making that call to that person, doing that visit, doing what needs to be done that is actually greater of value than your thing. You'll do your thing. There'll be a time when you'll get a chance to go on the run, that you'll get a chance to do that hike. There'll be that, but you might not ever get another chance to build that bridge with that person. This might be that opportunity. So sometimes we look at lust and we look at it a little too just in the sexual way, right? And that becomes the whoa, those sex people out there. Well, I hate to tell you this, but we're all sexual beings. If you struggle with talking about sex, then you're going to have to ask a really big question. Why? What is the deal? Human beings have intimacy. Animals have intimacy. Humans have intimacy. This is normal. It is the most of normal that we are. So to have an issue talking about it or thinking about it, really having good conversations about it, really brings up a big issue, right? Something is off. It's like not being able to talk about food. Why can't we talk about food? Food is normal to us. Human beings need food. We need air and oxygen, right? We need good air. We need water, right? And guess what? Humans also reproduce. Yeah. So it's not a weird topic. If it's weird to you, again, big question, and that is why. It says, for a prostitute will bring you to poverty, right? C.S. Lewis once said, a man with an obsession has very little sales resistance. A woman with an obsession, especially in Rome, when they were buying all that expensive clothing from the, Asiatic area, continents. They were importing all that into Rome, and it was bankrupting the country, the empire. But the rich ladies demanded it. And it was a high price, too high. They just could not afford it, but they kept doing it. And it ran the books into the ground. It's interesting when you study the financial economic issues that Rome had, and you'll get into the ladies. It's interesting in their issues, right? The consuming, right? The prostitute will bring you to poverty. I don't just want you to think about the Hollywood and Vine prostitute. Man, what are the prostitutes out there that will bring me to poverty? What are the other prostitutes? Things out there that are on the street that are saying, come in, buy me. Come in, you need this. Come in here. Oh, you need bigger that. You need better this. You need more of this. You need that. What are those prostitutes that are there? And it says, but sleeping with another man's wife will cost you your life. Ooh, that's so true. There's no doubt about that, right? Sleeping with another man will cost you your life in many ways. Just if we take this in the literal sense, which it's pretty literal, right? Talking about that adultery. Man, if that adulterer who's prostituting herself, saying, hey, come into me, selling off her body for you, God, there's a price. And for many of us, we have succumbed to that kind of allurement, and it's costed us something in our relationships, everything. Sometimes it's costed people financially dearly. Thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars that have been spent on this kind of temptation. Covering up, those chats, covering up those texts, covering up this, covering up that meeting, doing all that. Oh man, the difficulty of all that, right? The time spent in it all. Oh, it's cost us. It's cost us a lot of peace, a lot of serenity, a good conscience, all that. Can a man scoop a flame into his lap and have his clothes not catch fire? The answer is no. Can he walk on hot coals and not blister his feet? So it is with the man who sleeps with another man's wife. He who embraces her will not go unpunished. Wow, yeah, that's right. There is a punishment, meaning there is a consequence for the woman or the man who buys in and goes into their lustful attitudes on many levels. And so lust captures us. Lust captures us all. We all have strong desires for many different things that pull us in many different ways, and they cost us. When we move in those directions, there's definitely a consequence to it. Again, it could be something so simply that we choose to do something instead of doing what we ought to do, what we know to be the more important thing to do. And instead, we lose out on something. We lose out on a friendship. We lose out on building bridges. We lose on just the wonderful camaraderie of being brothers or sisters in Christ or whatever it is. But we lose out on that because we wanted to go do our thing. And it could be that. It could be the extreme example here of just literally, having intimacy with another person's spouse and desiring, your desires in your heart. Why is your heart desiring so much? Why is my heart desiring so much? What is it about it that I lack? Why am I not complete in Christ? Why do I have a lack? Where is my security? Why is my fearing so much? Why am I discontented? Oh, there's so many good questions to ask when you think about this. Verse 30 says, excuses might be found for a thief who steals because he is starving, but if he is caught, he must pay back 7 times what he stole. Interesting, 7 times. Might want to look that up. I think a guy named Zacchaeus, when he was with Jesus in the New Testament, if I remember, he kind of wanted to restore everybody. Maybe it was how many times? I don't know. Look it up. Right? Zacchaeus. He says he was going to restore people that he took from, and it was so many times. Was it 7 times? I'm trying to remember. So it says 7 times of what he stole, even if he has to sell everything in his house. But the man who commits adultery is an utter fool, for he destroys himself. He will be wounded and disgraced. His shame will never be erased. For a woman's jealous husband will be furious. Oh, that sounds like a film noir movie from the 30s and 40s for sure. He will show no mercy when he takes revenge. He will accept no compensation, nor be satisfied with a payoff of any size. I just got done watching one called like The Bluff or something like that from, I think it was, I want to say it was like 42, maybe 1942. But boy, man, it was just in line with this, where there was a woman who's married, who loves another man, and her lust pulls her in that direction, and that man is also married as well that she likes, and her husband goes on a tear to kill the other man, and it ends up, man, they both die. But unbelievable. You just kind of go, oh, man. He will accept no compensation nor be satisfied with the payoff of any size. You can try to pay off that man who you've slept with his spouse, but the only payoff is going to be your death. He's going to come after you. Why go in that direction? Why move in that way? It shows that, it shows by its writing that it's on the page that is the direction that we can tend to go in. That our lust becomes so great and so powerful that we will move into these areas of incredible risk, which makes no sense, right? The risk is super great. And yet we still do it, right? It's funny, we live in a world that tries to minimize the risk. It kind of says things like, and this is how I grew up, where it's like, hey, monogamy is not really that important. And that's just kind of a social structure, It doesn't mean it's the right social structure. Why can't we just all be with each other, kind of idea. And when I was growing up in Southern California, that was a kind of a big thought, of just like, what's the whole deal with this marriage thing? None of us wanted to be married. None of us thought about that kind of thing. We thought it was kind of lame. And it was kind of normal to cheat on people. And it was kind of normal to do that kind of thing. That's how it was when I was growing up. But it's funny, even though you think that way, and you think like, oh, well, I'm not in a monogamous relationship, so that's how you kind of try to minimize the risk, right? By taking out the strict format of monogamy, right? So now you've opened it up to all these other things, polyamorous lifestyles. But then something happens, is your heart still is bummed. Your heart's still not satisfied. You still have an issue. There's still something in your heart that's bothering you. And it's very interesting how that works in us. That we just can't be satisfied. Even if you open up your relationships and you still are never going to be satisfied no matter what direction you go in. You can have 100 people. You can have 300 people. Like Solomon, you can have 1,000 women at your disposal, right? 1,000 men, 1,000 whatever, and it still is not enough. Lust knows no bounds. None. Unbelievable, right? So even if in our society where we try to get away from the strict, right, prudish formats and think that's going to help our hearts and give us better mental health, it really doesn't work. Because why? The nature of lust knows no bounds. It'll just keep going, right? It doesn't know any format. It doesn't care if you're monogamous. It doesn't care if you're polyamorous. It doesn't care if you're heterosexual, homosexual, any sexual. Lust will just continue to find its point. And that's how it is, right? This is how we know, right? You're in a store. Think about it this way. You're in a store, and that thing that you wanted is not there. What do? We usually buy something else. Why? Because we feel like we want to buy something. It makes us feel better. Somehow, purchasing something new, it gives us some kind of delight, right? It doesn't really have to be something that we really need, per se. That thing that we really wanted or that we really needed, maybe it wasn't there, but we succumbed to some other thing. And that's kind of how lust works. It just goes in those directions. It's very difficult to harness, and that's why the Bible talks about this subject so much. So, man, what a cool proverb. A lot of good stuff to think about. For sure, as always, wisdom literature, how we ought to be, and really where we lack in a lot of areas of our life. But this is why we come to Christ, right? We come to Christ and say, hey, Jesus, you know what? I need your help. I need the work of your Holy Spirit in our life. I need to feel the completeness and the fullness that I have in Jesus so that I don't succumb to my lustful inclinations, my lustful desires, that I don't avoid what I ought to do for the lustful desires that I have. And so a work of the Holy Spirit is what is needed in our life. And it does look like a dying to ourselves. It looks like not, like a crucifying, picking up our cross and following Christ. You might have heard that term, to pick up our cross, right? And, it even talks about in John 12 to hate our life in this world that we may gain it in the next. And these are all powerful statements to help us to deal with that lustful inclination that is super powerful in all of us. And it is in every way. Even when sometimes we think we're on the right track, sometimes it's our lustful desires that are pulling us, and we have to kind of have a check, come back and say, hey, God, where am I really at? So a lot of and it's a good thing, God has better things for us, and we have to learn how to rest in Him, So good stuff to think about, ponder, for sure. But that's what the devotions are all about, aren't they? Yeah, amen. So Mike, you have a good one. Laura, Judy, you guys take care, okay? And Paula, I hope you're doing well out there, okay? You guys all take care. We'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.